Finally, the nuisance is gone.
One day, after being suddenly declared redundant by Manager Sanders, Supervisor Swan said that to me. I was working as a sidelined employee. My subordinates laughed at me. I just said, "It can't be helped then." My name is Robert Johnson, 45 years old. Due to some circumstances, on my cousin's recommendation, I've been working as an office clerk at this furniture manufacturer. Ever since I was a kid, I loved drawing and making things. My dad ran a construction company, and occasionally, he'd take me to the sites.
Robert, this is how homes are built.
As a kid, I'd look up at the houses and then at the ground. Lots of unused wood was piled up. I remember picking up a small piece and bringing it home. My dad laughed, asking, "What are you gonna use that for?" I love rainy days. Because on rainy days, Dad's work was off, and he'd always be making his hobby model kits. He bought me some too, and we'd enjoy building model kits together in his room. I wasn't great at school or sports, but I did love art class. I enjoyed playing video games with my classmates, but I preferred making something on my own. I'd often decline invitations to play games, saying, "I've got something to do today." Of course, by doing that, I gradually became more and more isolated. One summer vacation, I went to visit my grandmother's house, my mom's mom, and stayed there for a while. It was quite rural, with potato fields stretching out and the sunset on the horizon. My grandmother doted on me, and the dinners she made were delicious. The freshly picked vegetables from the countryside were so sweet. They could be eaten as is, without any dressing. There were mountains, and the sea was close by. I got really tan swimming in the sea. When riding the waves that crashed in, my mom laughed under a wide-brimmed hat on the sand. Tired from swimming, I'd ride back to my grandmother's house in my mom's pickup, where she had made lots of potato salad.
Robert, the potatoes from our field are delicious, aren't they?
My grandma would ask me. The potatoes, like the other vegetables, were sweet. I devoured them eagerly. That day's dish was stew, with potatoes and carrots from my grandmother's garden. The bath was wooden, and it smelled nice. After taking a bath, I'd often talk with my mom about where we wanted to go the next day, and I'd fall asleep soundly in the bedroom of our country house. There was a mountain nearby, and we decided to visit. Holding hands with my mom, we'd slowly climb the gentle slope. The chorus of cicadas, unheard in the city, could be heard. I felt the sunlight filtering through the trees and breathed in the green air. I found a red flower I had never seen before. While my mom taught me the names of the flowers, we headed to the mountaintop, where many yellow and white flowers bloomed. Eating my grandmother's homemade potato salad and omelet, we sat on a bench, feeling the quiet breeze. As I played around, I was amazed to find out insects in the countryside were 3 times bigger than those in the city. My excitement shot through the roof. My mom hates bugs, but I found myself staring at a big one for a while. Then, we slowly made our way down the mountain, swaying in the pickup truck. There were many pickups at my dad's construction site, but it was my first time riding one, so the swaying was really fun for me. Thinking back, my dad's car was quite luxurious, with hardly any shake, and that was normal for me. On the way back, the sunset over the potato field horizon again dyed everything orange. The potato fields, like a green sea, waved in the wind against the orange background. looking so beautiful. Then, I enjoyed my grandmother's dinner and drew pictures of a blue sea, green trees, and the sunset horizon on drawing paper.
Robert, you're really good at drawing.
My grandmother would praise me. As I explored the spacious countryside house, I felt something was off. I realized what it was. My grandmother's house was filled with old furniture. Everything was made of wood, and I captured the old furniture with an instant camera. The next day, I told my grandmother I'll come again, and once again spent a long time on the train. I fell asleep, but before I knew it, my mom woke me up for the transfer to the city. The view from the train slowly changed to the cityscape. The countryside sky had been a clear, beautiful blue with white clouds floating. But the city sky, despite being clear, looked gloomy. I entered my room, cleaned up the scattered wood, and drew pictures of the old-fashioned furniture from my grandmother's house. After that, I had a mountain of homework other than art to finish. I gradually completed it, but I really struggled with studying. Summer vacation ended, and I submitted my picture diary and homework. Then, the school I disliked started. In the higher grades, during a home visit, my mom was distressed because my teacher said I was falling behind in my studies, and she consulted with my dad. I had a classmate nearby, my dad's sister's son, Ken, and my dad suggested I go to a tutoring school with Ken. After tutoring, we'd go to a nearby home improvement store to buy wood glue and small nails with my allowance. I quickly finished my school homework and made miniature furniture with wood I brought from my dad's site. My room became more of a workshop than a study room. When my family went out to the mall, I'd head straight to the furniture section to look around at various furniture. I was really interested in furniture. My parents said I was a bit different, but on days without tutoring, I'd draw the furniture I remembered and make miniature furniture by myself. On rainy days, I still enjoyed making model kits with my dad. Although I worked hard at tutoring, I also got deeply into my hobbies. Several times, Ken came to my house and suggested, "Let's play games." But I told him I had other hobbies, and he entered my room.
This is the model kit I like.
Seeing Ken's eyes sparkle, I handed him the half-finished model kit, saying, "You can freely work on it," and he happily started doing so. I cut the wood into small pieces and made a miniature sofa. Ken looked at it curiously.
Robert, you're really skillful. Do you like doing this?
Yay, I like drawing and making things, but I'm not good at studying.
Oh, I haven't done my homework today either. My mom's going to scold me again.
Saying that, Ken went home to fetch his homework, and we decided to finish it together. Ken was good at studying, and he helped me with math and such. Then, after finishing our homework quickly, I started drawing the next furniture. Ken enjoyed the model kit. I experimented with changing the colors and shapes of the furniture I remembered while finishing the drawing.
Robert, you really like furniture, huh?
Yay, looking at lots of furniture makes me happy.
Well, but your drawing is really good, you know.
I've liked drawing since kindergarten.
Ken enjoyed looking at my drawings. We had many days like that, becoming good friends as we both attended tutoring. Around that time, my mom started working as an accountant at my dad's company. However, my dad would come home drunk, citing business dinners and entertainment as reasons. I would go to bed early, but I started waking up to the sounds of my parents arguing in the middle of the night. My mom worked hard during the day and took care of the household diligently, but my dad would come home late at night or even in the morning, and my mom always waited up for him, despite his bad drinking habits. If my dad had just come home and gone to bed quietly, it would have been fine, but he was so drunk he couldn't even find the sink. Watching him, my mom would guide him, often in a loud voice. "The sink is over here," and guide him when he mistakenly headed towards the balcony, while being irritated all the time. Despite hardly sleeping at night, my mom still went to work conscientiously. The arguments between my mom and dad were endless. Waking up at night, I'd distract myself by studying for tutoring and drying furniture. I often rode my bike alone to various furniture stores. I enjoyed changing the colors of the sofas I saw or imagining the tables in different shapes. Struggling to keep up with tutoring and having to finish its homework, I would go to sleep after everything quieted down. During gym class at school, I often felt sick and ended up watching from the sidelines. But my grades, except for physical education, were slowly improving. Hearing this at a parent-teacher meeting, my mom felt relieved about me, but continued to prepare dinner every night, waiting for my dad's return. Then, suddenly, my mom collapsed. I called my dad and an ambulance, accompanying my mom to the hospital. After she was hospitalized, I visited my mom the next day. Despite the tests showing nothing wrong, she was diagnosed with overexertion. I was informed about this by the doctor. My dad, being busy, didn't visit the hospital. My mom was discharged after about 3 days of treatment, but the doctor advised her to take it easy for a while. I liked shopping, so I took on the task of asking my mom what needed to be bought and would go out in the evening, trying to help as much as possible. Although my mom was somewhat frail, I learned to cook by helping her in the kitchen, gradually getting used to it. My mom took time off work, spending her days resting. She still waited for my dad every night, but he always returned late. After having dinner with my mom, I'd go to my room. I would remember the nostalgic dinners my grandmother used to make. By then, I was in 6th grade and was able to prepare meals to some extent. And soon Ken and I were about to become middle school students. We started studying Spanish at school, which was another difficult subject. But I kept going to tutoring seriously, not wanting to worry my mom. By then, my mom's days and nights had completely reversed, and she continued to take care of my dad when he came home drunk as always. My dad, usually gentle with us, would change when he drank, becoming critical towards my mom. Descending quietly to the living room in the middle of the night, I found my mom crying alone in the kitchen. Unable to say anything, I quietly went back upstairs, careful not to let my mom notice me, and went back to sleep. Occasionally, my dad would come home early and have dinner with us. When I said, "I made dinner today," my dad would praise the food with a smile. "Robert, you've always been handy since you were little." One morning in my 2nd year of middle school, I woke up to find my mom gone. A neatly arranged dining table had a piece of paper and a letter on it. The letter, written by my mom, read, "I'm tired of living this life." The other piece was a divorce form. I understood what was happening. Then, I woke my sleeping dad up.
Dad, Mon has.
My dad slowly got up, and I told him about the letter from my mom on the table. After quietly drinking his coffee for a while, he was seemingly deep in thought. I had to leave for school before I had left the house. After school, I hurried home and called my grandmother's house in the countryside.
Grandma, are you okay? Is Mom there?
Ah, Robert, is that you? Hold on a moment.
After my grandmother said that, my mom came to the phone.
Robert, I'm sorry. I just got tired of arguing with your dad.
That's okay, I understand. I'll come visit you there again.
I hung up the phone quietly, but as I did, tears began to overflow. Then, I went back to my room and opened the window. The cold winter wind entered, chilling my body all at once. I still couldn't accept the reality. I went downstairs and out to do some shopping. I managed to make a simple curry and went to tutoring. I wondered in my heart if my dad would be late again that night. I ate the curry alone at the dining table. Then, I secluded myself in my room again. Ken seemed to notice that I was different than usual at tutoring, although I tried to act normal. That night, he came over to my house.
Robert, is something wrong? How's your mom feeling?
My mom will probably be okay. She went back to her parents' place.
Oh, your mom's parents' place is in the countryside, right?
Yeah, it's a beautiful place by the sea. She'll probably rest there for a while. Maybe she won't come back here.
As I said that, my voice trembled and my eyes grew warm. Ken, seeing me like this, seemed to understand the situation. Being isolated at school, my cousin Ken felt like my only friend at the time. He went to the kitchen and seemed to be looking for something. Then he made me a cup of warm tea. Without saying anything, he sat with me at the dining table for a while before leaving. I felt like I would break if I didn't keep busy, so I went to my room and focused on making a miniature chair. The next day, when I came back from school, I found a stranger, a woman, standing in the kitchen.
You must be Robert, right? I'm Kate, a home helper.
She introduced herself, handing me her business card. I realized she was a housekeeper and politely greeted her, leaving the kitchen work to her before returning to my room. My dad must have hired the helper. With less work to do at home, I quickly finished my homework and the assignments from tutoring. By then, it seemed Kate had already left. The bathroom was very clean. As I looked around the other rooms, they were neatly tidied, and the laundry was folded in a corner of the room. I wasn't keen on going to school, but encouraged by Ken, I kept up with school and tutoring. Ever since Kate came every day, I stayed in my room.
Robert, shall I clean your room?
No, I'll take care of my room myself.
I would decline her. My miniature furniture hobby was important to me, and I didn't want anyone touching it without permission. This continued into middle school, and eventually, the time for exams approached. I occasionally called my mom, who sounded much happier and was pleased to hear from me. Yet, looking at the kitchen without my mom, I couldn't help feeling lonely. Remembering how my mom used to worry about my grades, I began to study harder as rain started to fall outside. The tradition of building model kits with my dad on rainy days had stopped. Together with Ken, I focused on studying for the exams. Somehow, I managed to get into a public high school. To celebrate, my dad bought me a cell phone, and I gave my contact information to Ken and my mom. My mom had also bought a cell phone, and we kept in touch regularly. She seemed to have found a job in the countryside. After that, The emails started to fade. Ken went to a different school, and I started commuting to school alone. The station was close, so even on rainy days, walking was quick enough. The rain washed away the memories of bright, sunny days in the countryside with my mom. It made those happy times seem far away. Even so, I still liked rainy days. Compared to the blue skies at my mom's hometown, the city, even when sunny, felt increasingly gray to me. During my first year in high school, a girl in my class named Mia gave me a letter. She was popular and really cute. The letter asked if I'd like to go out with her, which surprised me. I wrote down only my cell phone number on a letter back to her. Then we started exchanging texts, and Mia and I began dating. I wasn't much for eating out, but we went to movies and shopping, and she even joined me browsing furniture stores.
Wow, Robert, you really like furniture.
Yeah, for some reason, I've always liked it since I was little. I have something I'd like you to see, so if you want, come over to my place sometime.
When I invited her, she happily agreed to come over.
Amazing. What a fancy house.
She was surprised. It was surprising to me since I hadn't been to many friends' homes. But indeed, our living room had quite a few expensive pieces of furniture, thanks to my dad's taste. However, she was even more astonished by my room, which looked more like a workshop, and was fascinated by the miniature furniture I made.
This is so cute. Did you make this, Robert?
Yeah, that's right. Do you like it? It's my hobby.
You're so talented. I'd love to have this chair.
Sure, you can have it. I'm glad you like it. I've always been into this kind of thing, even though I'm not great at studying or sports.
She smiled warmly at that. Even when we went out to see a movie, I always found myself looking at the furniture, and she started to take an interest in it too. Our conversation flowed easily after the movies.
The Western-style furniture in today's movie was really nice, wasn't it?
Did you think so too?
Feeling understood about my hobby made my heart leap. Although we didn't eat out much at first, we began enjoying various conversations over meals at diners and singing at karaoke bars. She was good at Spanish and talked about wanting a job where she could use it. I didn't really have any career dreams. I took my studies seriously in high school, even though I quit tutoring. Then I thought it'd been nice to take her to my mom's hometown. When I suggested it, we planned a trip for 3 days during the summer holiday, with her parents' permission.
Robert, you've grown so tall. It's good to see you doing well. And what a lovely young lady.
I'm Mia, currently dating Robert. Nice to meet you.
Oh my, nice to meet you too. What a charming young lady. Please, come in.
My grandmother welcomed us with a smile. I almost cried when I saw my mom, but having Mia there made it easier, especially when I was already a high school student. Like old times, my mom took us to the sea. Mia was moved by the beautiful countryside air and the blue ocean. We were too shy for swimsuits, so we just dipped our feet at the beach. She enjoyed the nostalgic potato salad my grandmother made. She was delighted by the potato fields and green mountains, and was impressed by the architecture of my grandmother's rural home. My mom took time off work for us. The next day, my mom prepared us for the possibility of rain. The weather was clear, but even so, she said to us, the weather in the mountains can change suddenly. As we walked in the mountains, Mia was surprised by the cicada sounds. But then suddenly, they stopped, Drops of rain began to fall, and my mom lent us rain gear. At that time, my mom drove us in her regular compact car, smiling as she guided us to the base of the mountain, where we got into the car parked there. Both my grandmother and mom really took care of her well, making it a fun trip.
It was really fun. I'll come again.
She said that as we left my mom's family home. On the train back, she was all excited, chatting about how nice the countryside is, making me feel good about our trip too. I had no intention of going to college, but she was about to face college entrance exams, so this was our only chance to relax for a while. Our relationship continued smoothly through the end of high school, and she went on to her dream college. My dad suggested I help out at his construction site if I wasn't planning on college. I looked for jobs after graduating high school, but as I was not great at communication, I couldn't find a good workplace and ended up working at my dad's site right away. For someone like me who's not very strong, the work on site was tough at first. A colleague who had been working since right after high school told me sternly, "Hey, just because you're the boss's son doesn't mean you can slack off," pushing me to keep up with the work. After about 3 months, I started to get the hang of it. Aside from talking to him, I didn't need much communication, just doing what I was told. Having gotten my driver's license just before graduating high school, I started driving a small truck early in the morning to pick up younger workers without licenses. I remember the old days when my mom used to drive a similar truck, which made me nostalgic. I liked driving. My girlfriend, now in college, kept in touch as always, and we sometimes met up to watch a movie. Ken also went to a pretty well-known college. One day, a woman named Rachel, 3 years older than me, appeared at our home. After finishing work and talking with my dad, he announced, "I'm going to marry Rachel." I didn't oppose their marriage. After all, marriage is a personal choice. Thus, Kate, who had long been helping us, was transferred to another household. I couldn't bring myself to call Rachel Mom, so I just referred to her as Rachel. This new living arrangement started, but I just couldn't feel comfortable in this house anymore. The traces of my mom and dad from the old days seemed gone. When I begged my dad to let me move into the company dormitory, he agreed. I was glad since I wanted to live alone. Having cooked since I was a child, I had no trouble with cooking for myself. My girlfriend occasionally visited, enjoying the meals I cooked, and praised my cooking as we spent time together in the kitchen, making my solo living space a place where I could immerse myself in my hobbies. On my favorite rainy days, which were my days off, I would come up with various ideas, drawing new furniture designs. She always enjoyed discussing colors, saying things like, "I want furniture like this when we get married someday." Before we knew it, she graduated from college and landed a job at a multinational company she had dreamed of. I kept living my life cheerfully every day. Even though Sundays were work days for me, she would invite me out for meals on days I finished work early. And eventually, she proposed to me, leading to our marriage. The following year, we were blessed with a lovely daughter. My lonely life was then filled with a family. Since my salary was quite good and she decided to continue working, we asked my dad to help us build a custom home. We lived happily, and our daughter grew healthily from daycare to elementary school. I continued my hobby, but then Ken called me out of the blue. He had joined a fairly large furniture company and remembered my hobby.
Why not design your own furniture?
Encouraged by him, I enrolled in an online vocational school to learn computer-aided design. I improved my skills in sketching and CG. I eventually completed the designs and earned an interior designer qualification. I had been doing well at my dad's company, but one day, I slipped and fell on my way home from work, suffering a complicated fracture in one leg. The pain was unbearable. After a long surgery, I found out I wouldn't be able to walk as before. Unable to work on site with my limp, I was restless, and that was when I was 39. My daughter had entered middle school. I decided to contact Ken. Then, he mentioned that a subsidiary of his company could introduce me to an office job. I took the opportunity and joined a furniture sales company. Walking slowly and mostly capable of organizing documents on the computer, I found myself sidelined, much like a window seat employee, as I passed the age of 40. I was always being scolded by Manager Sanders.
Hey, Robert. Just stick to cleaning the office.
Understood. That was the sort of menial work I was stuck with. I was never great with communication in the first place. As such, I have apparently come off as unfriendly to others. I could hear Supervisor Swan and the other employees whispering, "Really? That guy is useless," and laughing. However, for my daughter and wife's sake, I couldn't quit my job. I was doing my best, creating documents and conducting sales on the computer behind the scenes, unbeknownst to anyone. Then, one day,
Hey, Robert. You're really slow at everything. I understand your leg is a problem, but the staff is having a hard time. You, being practically a non-contributor, are fired today.
at 45, I was suddenly laid off.
Finally, the nuisance is gone.
They laughed along. Well, I'm fired, but what happens to this company is now none of my concern. Fired her, I understand. Thank you for everything. As I packed my things and was about to leave, Director Sock, who seldom was in the office, hurriedly stopped me.
Wait a minute, Robert.
I stopped. Director Sock immediately contacted President Taylor, who then appeared.
Sanders, I had no idea our office was in such a state. Robert has a disability, yes, but did he cause any problems?
Sanders fell silent under Taylor's glare. Then Swan said,
No, but he's not good at communication. And indeed, his work is slow, and everyone is troubled by it.
I had been earnestly doing my work. I then faced Sanders and Swan to express my feelings. I am sorry. I indeed struggle with communication and have this disability. But I didn't choose to be this way. Manager, supervisor, and fellow employees, you all laughed at me behind my back. But I've been fully committed to my work. And now, the future of this company depends on what you, the manager, decide. Please apologize to me right now. I shouted loudly. Seeing the usually calm me shouting, Swan and the others were shocked.
Sanders, and all of you employees don't understand our company at all. And though you are a manager, you don't have the authority to fire an employee.
Sock said that, silencing Sanders again. Then Taylor exclaimed,
Exactly as Sock said. Our company's revenue depends on the patent designs created by Robert. Without him, this company would go bankrupt. Are you all okay with losing your jobs?
Only the president and the director were aware. I had patented all my furniture designs and outsourced their production while handling the sales here.
Patent.
Hearing Taylor's words, Sanders, Swan, and the other employees began to tremble. Taylor ordered,
Sanders, you don't have the authority to fire Robert. But I have the authority to fire you, Sanders. You are fired as of today. Clear out your desk immediately.
Sanders was fired on the spot. While still trembling, he turned pale and started packing his desk. Swan and the other employees apologized to me. Robert, we've been truly disrespectful to you, they said, apologizing one after another. Afterward, Taylor, understanding my communication struggles, called me in and gave me an office. I was appointed as the head of the department. I was shocked by my sudden promotion. I could only express my gratitude to the president. My salary was tripled. Overjoyed, I immediately texted my wife, and when I got home, my wife and daughter had bought a cake to celebrate. Though my mobility was compromised, looking at my family's smiling faces, I pledged to continue dedicating myself to my job, which blends my lifelong hobby with practical benefits. The raindrops sparkling on the window seemed to reflect my mother's smile from days gone by.